And hello, everyone. I am Dan Lutz, and I'm here with my co-host,
DANK.
And we're here on the front lines against the deep state, the cabal, the Lumadonkeys, and all those that wish to enslave all of mankind for their own selfish reasons. And also to say that this is our 1-year anniversary for our very first show. Not the first from when we started the non-stop shows, but the first
first show.
The very first time when we just said hello to each other and started talking about GCR and the RV, the big lie.
It's a pretty amazing thing. I really cannot. It's hard for me to imagine that we've been doing this for almost a year straight, nonstop for a year straight. But even though we've only known each other for a year, I'm so comfortable with you. Like it's always seemed like we just always kind of known each other. So it's kind of funny. It's almost surprising we hadn't been doing this before.
Yeah, well, we were on the same path different maps, I guess. I know, but we were covering a lot of the same things and had a lot of similar experiences, just coming at it from different angles, but all heading in the same direction. I did cover how I ended up contacting you on the show with Lisa yesterday. I saw your phone number because I started following the blog on the Speak Project, right? Because I didn't know how to get a hold of Thomas, right, or his show, because I only knew it from Lucid Dreamer. And Thomas just happened to mention Speak Project. And I just looked it up. That's how I ended up finding Speak Project. Without that, I never would have found that. And I started, I registered, got notice when the blogs were happening, right? And then I started reading the blogs. And then I saw that one of the blogs had your phone number on the bottom of it, and that's when I called you on WhatsApp, I believe.
Yeah, I think it was a mistake.
Yeah.
I used to be able to just, post to the Speak Project directly from my email. I didn't have to log in and anything. I would just send an email and it would just post. So that has since changed, obviously. So what would happen is my signature on the email would just show up sometimes. But it's funny. I don't. It's been a little crazy that I have had my number out there very public for a long time. But it's so interesting because I've got contacted by some really incredible people, and I'm glad that happened. Although right now, it also has opened up my line for various death threats and other things. Most of the calls have been very positive. Most of the calls.
Yeah. Yeah. Trolls call from underneath the bridge from the dark.
Yeah. Sidori was talking about that today. We have because we did a show the other night at like 3:00 in the morning. Michelle Walker and I, right? Because there was all these trolls that were coming out of the woodwork, right? But pretty legitimate characters who I had been watching for a while, who were known controlled opposition, like that we knew they were, right? They had done things that basically was a tell about their position, right? And like they were people that were we knew we had actual clips of them admitting that they were controlled opposition, they were psyops, they were working for the CIA, different things like that, right? And they were accusing us of things. No, they were accusing us of things that we could prove very obviously were not true. And I thought, wow, that was really sloppy on their part that they did that. So, but I thought it was really important to put it out and like challenge them and basically say, that's not true. Not only is it not true, but they know it's not true, right? And because that to me is very important, because then they have to acknowledge that, because in making those accusations, you have to question, well, how can you make those accusations if you know it's not true based on your own personal experience, right? So obviously you're lying with the intent to deceive the people. And if you're lying about that, what else are you lying about? And to me, that's very important. That's how people go down. Thanks, sir. That's how people go down these paths, and they don't know what's going on. And then somebody just shows up and says, "Oh, they're bad. Don't trust them. They do this or they do that," and they come up with some story. But it's like that's because they happen to people all the time. Is that people that are garbage, they follow them, and then people that are solid, they get their reputations destroyed and they don't know what to do. And those are people that are actually trying to help. So in this case, because our credibility, I feel like it's so important right now, or at least most recently with Michelle Walker, because we're actually offering a real solution, for the first time. Mm-hmm. Everybody else has followed the exact same path to failure, right? It's the exact same process to failure. Either they went in through common law, sovereign direction, and the big mistake there was they tried to keep everything private, and that ultimately, led them or they didn't have the right support on the back end, to like keep themselves safe. And because of that, they end up getting arrested or, wrongly accused of something or wrongly imprisoned. And then on the other side with the vaccine, they try to go through the traditional courts, with attorneys that aren't even arguing the Constitution and clearly, in my opinion, don't really have any intent of winning.
Right.
So, you know what? Michelle Walker's credibility with Lawful America and mine as well, and our whole team, that's very important right now. So I thought, well, let me nip that in the bud real quick and take it down and just kind of show, because they were doing like really aggressive things. I mean, they sent out, they intercepted like, private message from Michelle and, a partner of hers that she had, some time ago, and like put out naked pictures of her trying to to direct message people on Facebook to try to say, look at this, which doesn't make someone good or bad. I mean, it wasn't like she was doing anything wrong, right, in the picture. And they did the same thing to Carol Wachowski. Sent out very more aggressive, actually, nude images of her trying to, with a woman who intercepted her group, right, on her Justice for James site, which is only like 15 people, right? Intercepted that site, then went and is allegedly sleeping with the man who raped her and, you know, was in custody, if nothing else, of James Deal when he died or was murdered. And then she went over, this woman who intercepted that group allegedly went over and is staying with that man now, sleeping with him. And she's attacking everybody in Carol Wachowski's world, right? Like calling them up and these very hypnotic, terrifying messages. I mean, terrifying. Like when I listen to them, I'm like, how is this a real thing? So, anyways.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I don't know anything about this. I'm not tracking it. Well, I guess that's a good thing. But you know, it's interesting that they go all out on this. This just confirms how credible we are.
Yeah.
Right, because they're going to this extent, right, to basically go after someone, you know, and they're like, you know, really like they act like demons, you know, vile demons. They are in a, because it's just at their heart, that's, you know, what they're spewing is hatred, right?
Yep. Well, you know, Kathy Hall, allegedly. Now, I do not know if this is a real Kathy Hall. It's the only interaction I ever had with her, right? And Kathy Hall is, you know, what they call an angel mom, right? She had her daughter was killed, I guess, by an illegal alien. And then I believe her granddaughter was taken by Child Protective Services, you know, and she's trying to get that child back. You know, it's a bunch of things like that, like 3 things like that happened to her. Right? I forget what the third one is. But she was supposed to witness. She was supposed to be there to advocate for Amy Henkins when she was going to the Supreme Court about a case. And Amy Henkins, she's the one who told Linda Collins Smith, the former senator out of Arkansas, that she contacted her directly, and she informed Linda Collins Smith that her husband, Linda Collins Smith's husband, the judge, actually trafficked her child in Child Protective Services, and Linda Collins Smith had no idea. And that's what led Linda Collins Smith to actually go in and investigate his computer and find out that he was raping kids in the judge's chambers, right? So all that happened. Now, all that was real. That's all stuff that took place. Now, Kathy Hall called me, and I remember when she called, it was such a strange call because she was really mad about Michelle Walker. And I'm like, why? I mean, Michelle Walker never had a bad thing to say about her. Michelle Walker had done nothing but bring out things that were true. And she was attacking her and saying all these things about her. And there's a lot of holes in Kathy Hall's story, you know, that they kept trying to put these things on her. Now, I realize this probably works on people all the time, right? You call up and say, oh, no, she took money this way. And look, I have text to prove it. Now, that's what she told me. She had screenshots and text messages to prove it. I said, oh, okay, send them to me. And I waited. So the thing she sent me was like, it wasn't evidence. It was just someone else saying the same thing she was, right? Which isn't evidence, right? Like if I tell you a lie and then you go and repeat the lie, that's not evidence, right? It's just that, you know, I told a lie and you believed it and you repeated it, right? That doesn't make what you posted true.
Right.
And that's what they do. They expect, you know, for people who don't really examine these things, that's all it takes, right? Like, oh, here's a text message, or so is saying this, they're really mad. But the messages that we showed were actually messages directly with those people, with everybody involved. You know, going back and forth, but they're admitting who they are. So, you know, that whole thing to me it's important. So after a year straight, almost straight of doing shows every day, you know what? It's important to me that our credibility is intact. You know, is intact. You know, no matter. I mean, granted, they're going to keep coming at us, no matter what. But I know better.
Right.
So,
Well, we definitely have a lot accomplished in 1 year. Whether it's from on Kim's side, where she's really just shook out the whole system. Has Kim's appearing in the central banks around the world, figuring out how they're gonna how are they gonna use this, or how they're gonna take advantage of and,
yeah.
and and we have lawful America, right? We've got marshals forming, we've got grand juries forming, we've got all of these different efforts just blossoming, right? And if we look on the QAnon front, we see that there's they're about ready to drop some arrest, whether one or a handful, I don't know, but it looks like it's about ready to drop. And I just heard that they're attacking 8kun, right, we're QAnon Post, right, with a DDoS attack, which is a way of taking down websites, right, by continually sending messages to it to overload it.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Huh.
and so Cloudflare, everyone probably has seen some sort of Cloudflare. That Cloudflare, what it does is it kind of intercepts that and kind of defeats it. It's kind of an anti-attack type of tactic. But when they attacked Kun, I think it's the New York Times. It was either the New York Times or the Washington Post. They put up this thing on their Twitter, basically announcing that they've the beginning of the attack, right? But it wasn't. It was kind of a veiled. It wasn't directly saying, "Hey, we're attacking Kun," right? It's talking about an attack. And then 6 minutes later, they posted that that it's over, right? It's been done. But two different, they're veiled posts, so it's not exactly talking about that. But it's the only way they can communicate, because since they lost their satellites, right? So they have to use Twitter and these, kind of information. But their attack only lasted 6 minutes. So
6 minutes, huh?
6 minutes. And so they were, so then 8kun was back up, and now it seems like they really know that it's about, some arrest is about to drop. I mean, I talked about this the other day when we put together the Q post and appointed, from the racist, who are the real racists, looking at Biden and Hillary, and then they talk, and you trace the number, and it turns out being this weird odd number, which ends up being a document on Google Docs that is actually tracking all of the unsealed indictments, pointing to, hey, the unsealed indictments, meaning that they're going to unseal them. They're pointing to the sealed indictments, and they're going to unseal them. And so if they're going to point to one or a handful of people and arrest them, it's going to be the shot heard around the world. It's going to wake up the ones that are still sleeping, or the ones that have been waking up with all of this impeachment and everything else. The State of the Union. This is the time, right? It's going to happen very soon. Are we waiting for Lindsey Graham, to do something? I don't know, but it's now. So, yeah.
It's got to be now. I mean, Lindsey Graham coming out saying, finally saying something that makes sense, right? Hey, these people are going to go to prison. I mean, because if
he said half of them,
normal,
he said half of the people involved are going to go to prison.
Yeah. So, if you think about it, it's like, that's the only thing that makes sense. Watching people commit crimes publicly every day on television as part of our government doesn't make sense.
And this is just talking about Russian collusion narrative, right? The whole thing about the Russians, when it was really, Hillary and Obama Are those the ones that are actually going to get arrested? Can you see Obama being arrested for this? It's if they have the
Oh
proof.
my God, I think that you definitely should see Obama arrested. But I think you should bring down everybody around him publicly first to show how corrupt the entire administration was. And you have to do it so it's so undeniable. It's so undeniable that no one can be upset about it.
Right?
Because you're going to tear down an icon, right?
Sure.
Now it's a face. You're going to tear down an idol, but you have to take that out.
Well, and this is when this is when they revealed that Obama is from Indonesia or Kenya, but is that because Trump he got the truth about the birth certificate? Remember that was part of his thing. At one point, he was investigating.
Yeah, I know he was pursuing it a long time ago.
Yeah.
But did he actually have the truth on it? I didn't know he actually had it.
Yeah, no, he said he got the original, and but he's not talked about it, since then. He kind of said that.
I mean, that was like before he was even running for president.
Yeah.
That was like when he was it was just an idea, right?
Yeah. Well, I think there was a time when he was running in the time before, right, with Obama, right? The first after the first election, he was considering running, but he didn't run. But he was getting the information. It was only this last time with Hillary did he actually commit to running. But the time before, he was considering running, but he didn't do it.
Yeah.
Up against Obama.
Well, I mean, I think he's been up against Obama and Hillary Clinton his whole presidency and before.
Yep.
And
then they spied on him, and illegal spying, and they also needed to point at it so that they could cover up the hammer that they were spying on all of the Americans as well as all the foreign leaders. They were spying on everybody. And it was all about auctioning off the blackmail material to people around the world. They were just monetizing, all of the things that they can out of the United States, right, on its way down, right. And then we were going to.
It'll be really interesting to see if they actually show, if anybody takes the time, in this whole process, to demonstrate how this is really a long, laid out plan that you can trace all the way back to the Eisenhower administration, at least. I mean, and before, obviously, but very easily that people can remember enough right now still, and talk about that closing speech by Eisenhower where he talks about beware of the military militarized industrial complex. Right?
Yeah.
And that, right now, you can see exactly what that is. And you can explain it very simply, right? Because if you did an audit on the Pentagon, like a forensic audit on the Pentagon, the Federal Reserve, and, whatever, CIA agencies, whatever, you couldn't explain the spending, right? You could not explain why a box of bullets cost an average American $6 and the same box of bullets, one box of bullets, to the military that's buying millions of them, will cost them, $600 for the same box.
Right.
Doesn't make sense.
Where's the money?
Like, why was there 100%, 100 times markup or whatever it is? Like, that doesn't make sense at all. So these things, and that this is the nature of all the taxes and every expense that has made America this massive consuming machine that's spending, and consuming, growing in our obesity, literally, getting fatter and, dumbed down, thinking we're getting the best possible products, the best possible everything. Meanwhile, just using this as a generator for the entire world so that they can kill us off.
Right.
Like,
fatten the cow.
incredible thing when you think about it. It's like that's the tragedy that we're faced with every single day. Every single day.
Yep. And they're going to fatten the cow.
Yep.
They fatten the chattel so they can harvest it. They're sick people, and I use the term people loosely. So
yeah. That's definitely a term you should use loosely when you talk about them.
So
yeah.
Well, let me ask you, what is happening with Kim? I don't think we covered that.
So this week has been very sparse with information from Kim. I know that there's nothing that is she's waiting on per se for them to cooperate at this point. The entire world is waking up to having to use the Kim's system. Now, as far as I can tell, based on our conversations that we had previously, the only reason why money has not made it to us yet is because it's not safe. It's not safe yet. But I believe that'll resolve itself this week. And I don't have the exact details on that, But it's just been more of a people issue. And I'm sure she laid the gauntlet down and said, you have no other option. Because the entire world now is faced with looking at Kim's system with no other way to move money. No other way to, there's no intelligence system that she's not making sure is putting out the truth anymore, right?
Right.
There's no way to look into the system and get lies now. So, and I would imagine that, I hope that the other two Kim systems are all. Actually, I know they're fully functional. I just don't know exactly what you're doing yet. So, I think we're in the very final stage where that comes down and meets us at our level. But I didn't get any report from her today. Nothing other than, although one of my spheres did call me up with a very, very strong message from God, telling me that, that actually caught me in a very weak moment actually yesterday when I was just feeling very overwhelmed and feeling like, does this even matter? Am I even making a difference? But I was feeling it yesterday. And right in that moment when I was feeling that way, I got a message from one of the people I trust who's shared things with me before that have prophesied things that have come true. He called me up and she said, I have a very important message from God. And she said, God hears you. And that in your quiet moments when you're alone, that God hears you and he sees what you're doing and what you've done. And he knows what you've asked for and how you are working to change the world. And she said, and he wanted you to know that he has heard those things and all of those things will happen and much more than you can even imagine. And they are all, en route right now to be ready for a massive and dramatic change at any moment. She even gave me some dates that fall in this week, but I won't put those out.
Okay, well, that's awesome. We'll take that.
Yeah, it was a really touching message. Actually, I was walking in the store, and actually, it came at such a timely moment. Actually, it got me a little choked up.
Well, you're probably just experiencing the effects of the poison from the trolls, right? From their stench. You get overwhelmed by the stench, even though you're fighting off the trolls. They still smell really badly.
Yeah, I think so. It can be overwhelming from the standpoint of to me, it gets a little frustrating. It's like, think of this. I mean, Dan, we've been doing this not just for free, but we've paid to do this, right?
Yeah.
For the past, not just the past year. We've been paying to do things. I've been paid to do things like this. Out of every dime I scrape together, I put towards making a difference, right? Trying to change the world. I mean, anytime people have helped me out and sent me money for any reason, or anytime any money I've made, a side job, I'm always hustling. My life has been a nonstop hustle for the past 5 years, right? And every single penny has gone to keep food on the table for my kids, keep a roof over their head, and then every dime I could spare has gone into this.
Right.
I mean, I don't even think I can't even remember the last time I bought a shirt, right? Because because it's so important, right? And I was just watching people blow up and respond with such negativity and such just visceral hatred, right? It's like, who do they hate? Who are they so mad at?
Right.
What could they possibly say about what we're doing? You know, because my whole team does what I just described that I'm doing. I've got a whole team of people that do that.
Yeah.
They've given their life to change the world. And the thought that somebody has nothing better to do than come up with, you know, waste of space websites to try to dog those people? Are you kidding? Like, you know, they were trying to say that we were, this one writer up in Chicago said that Michelle she was harvesting victims. Now, first of all, when you say those words together, it sounds like something. And what he was basically trying to imply is that, you know, we just give people false hope. I'm like, first of all, that's garbage. That's garbage. We've been out giving people real hope with real facts, really doing things, fighting for them, actually telling them what we're doing, showing them what we're doing, backing up every word we say. And people like this guy will come on there and just dismiss it. And you know, the sad part is that people will believe that. Because in their mind, the psyops that the cabals run, this is one of their common psyops, is the too good to be true psyops, right? It's too good to be true. It's too easy, right? It's too easy. So they can't imagine it's even possible that they could just be free, right?
Right.
That to me is heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking because you want people to see and believe in themselves. You want them to make the world a better place and not just give up so quickly to every little negative thought or negative idea that passes by. You know, I want people, you know, to stand up for themselves.
Right.
So if this idiot comes out and says, you know, false hope, what he's trying to say is because the people are hopeless. That's what he's saying. What I'm saying is, no, that's not true. But the hope they have is in them. Now, when you realize that everything you need is empowered within you, it's there, laying there. It's actually referred to in the Bible as the powers latent in man. That's what it says. The powers latent in man. In other words, they are there inside of you, latent, meaning they're unrealized.
Right.
They haven't been tapped into or used yet.
Right.
And then to say like, oh no, that's false hope. It's false hope because they're filled with darkness. Because they sold their soul to the devil, and their job is to keep you from realizing that potential and realizing what you can do. And that makes me so damn mad sometimes.
Yeah. Well, you know, they're soulless beings, right? They can't see the hope, and they don't want anyone else to have it as well. So that's why they end up, you know, going down this road. You know, and you know how much of what they do is paid, and how much is you know, just following orders, you know, from their demonic side of things, right? Where they just, you know, they're kind of just programmed to go after hope.
Yeah, I mean, anytime they see it, you know, that's a real, actual scheduled psyops, right? The tomorrow game, and it's based entirely on deferring people's hope.
Yep.
That's the whole idea. And to constantly keep them in a state where you just break their heart, right?
Right, but also it just prevents them from focusing on things that could actually solve problems in their life. Right, they're occupied doing something that won't realize anything.
Yeah. You remember that? You ever see that movie with Robin Williams? I think it was called like "What Dreams May Come" or something like that.
That's not
And it's
Robin
like-
Williams, but I know that movie very well. Yeah.
No, maybe I got the wrong one. But Robin Williams is in it, and unless I'm on a different timeline, but the version I saw was with Robin Williams. I never know anymore. I never. So, but it was like his wife had committed suicide, and he could never recover.
Oh yeah. Oh, maybe you are right. Yeah, me might be all right. I might be wrong. So, but yeah, I know what you mean. So she was like caught in limbo because of
Yeah,
suicide.
and, he had to go there with her, right, and just be there and be in that space with her, and just be like, I'm here with you. I'll be in this place that's awful and crazy. I'll forget who I am with you, but I'm going to be with you no matter what, right?
Yeah.
And I think about that because, like, you got to think there's some truth to that all of us have participated in, right? That we all have an existence that extends, backwards and forwards beyond this physical body. And we agree to come into this body and forget who we are. What would possibly motivate us to do that? And I realized there's nothing else that would have motivated us to do that than we were in love with maybe the collective, maybe an individual. I'm not sure exactly. Maybe an idea. But we did that same thing. We came here and said, I'll let everything else go. Because I'm so confident in the power that's in me. The power is latent in me of this power of love is so powerful in me that even when they're going to throw everything at me to try to destroy me, even though they're going to try to bury every memory I had, make my life miserable, everything, that the love inside me is so strong that I'll remember. I'll remember, and I'll stand up, and I'll find others that remember too, and we'll rise up together, and we'll win. That was the gamble we all made.
Yep.
It's just kind of amazing. It's amazing to see.
Oh, and I think I was just trying to think. I was thinking about some of the alternate timelines and the Mandela effects that we've been noticing about this changeover. So I keep reflecting back on things that I've noticed that are different. But a lot of people also realize the same thing. It's like in Star Wars and the Darth Vader saying, "Luke, I am your father," right?
Right.
Right, and so everyone that remembers that raise their hand, right? And then who doesn't? Compared notes. Are you a Star Wars enthusiast? Are you, And then you kind of realize that there literally are people here that are from different timelines that remember things completely differently, and that we chose to be in this different timeline. To go off on this different trajectory. And we did it because of we're on the path of light, right? And this is the unique path that we've all decided to be on. So if you're already on it, we already know what the outcome is. We just need to take the steps to get there, right? And those steps are relying upon everyone taking one step. And then the next, and the next, and then suddenly a year later, everything is different.
Yeah, or a day. A day later. It could be. Just, it's amazing how those things happen,
Well, I was kind of referring to, our last year, and now it's all different.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Not one more year.
I was just thinking about, like, on New Year's Eve, right? Go from 2019 to 2020. And 2019 had to go through the whole year, but it all comes down to one moment. One moment, and it goes from 2019, and click, is 2020. Just like that. That's the moment when all the change happened, right? And now it's a brand new year, right? Yeah. And I realized all this, what we've done, to your point, is all this work has been done. All this work has been done over the past year. And now we're finally at the moment. The moment, and it'll just flip, and we're in a new age, right? We're a new age, a new trajectory. We're heading a different direction. We found the bottom. Now we can stand up, or whatever it is. And I do think we're there. Hearing Lindsey Graham going, because think of how they're going to go after the very obvious and blatant. Obvious. It's you have a video recording that is public, with at least a dozen witnesses there at whatever the foreign event was, and Joe Biden is saying openly and boastfully about how he, bribed the head of the Ukraine, right? and forced him to fire a prosecutor who was investigating, his son. and now there's memos that prove that, and there's and there's an actual money trail, which Kim's involved with that money. She understands, or she's tracked that money trail, I'm sure, right, and provided that information. So, they can't hide that from Kim. There's a lot more really in-depth intel that Kim can provide them. It should be
Well, and everybody knows now how ridiculous it is, because they can see, these guys should be in jail. I mean, everyone that really looks at the evidence, not partisan hacks, but people that just normal people looking at it. Hey, listen, it's obvious that what he did was wrong, right? And he should go to jail. And if he goes to jail, who else goes to jail? Is everyone else that is on the board of Burisma, whether it's a Romney's, chief of staff, or it's Romney himself, because if it shows any payments going back to Romney, right, which could be, anyone that's following this trail is now there's guilt, right, and now people are going to believe it, and so now you can arrest them. So if Lindsey Graham says we're going to arrest half of the people involved in Russia Gate, right? We're not even talking about Ukraine yet, right?
Right.
What's going to happen with the Ukraine? So they're all going to go down at this point. But that means Obama's going down, and when Obama goes down, Clinton's go down. When Clintons go down, the Bushes go down.
What I think is amazing is this grand plan, right? They're using the cultural guidance, the actual triggers they've planted in the cultural guidance. They're going to be able to use them against the deep state.
Sure.
To convince them and to persuade all of their followers. Because think about it, here's some of their catchphrases that you've heard, right? Nobody is above the law.
Right.
And they've used that to go after the president, right?
Right.
Well, if nobody's above the law, you went after the president, and the president went through the lawful process, right? Didn't block. He allowed him to investigate him for 2 years. There's no record of him. He provided transcripts. I mean, allowed them to basically do, audit and harass his whole life in every way. Now, nobody's above the law, and he demonstrated, look, he went through the lawful process. He didn't do anything wrong. Didn't even find a misdemeanor, right?
Right. So now they're not above the law, right?
Right. So if that's the case, why would Joe Biden be above the law, and why is that something you can't investigate, right?
Well, he's running for president. Any criminal that runs for president means that they're immune. Right? That's what they're saying, right? So, of course, it's not going to hold water. It's filled with holes, and so that's why we're about ready to see it. So the Great Awakening process has now, it's ready for harvest, right? So now,
and I think it's really planned. It's been planned out on some level by the mapping system, right? To see when does this, persuade, the general public, let's say, right? Or when does it shift enough that we can stabilize what we get from it, right? Because we could have done it. The evidence was there; it's been there forever, but it didn't matter. Every time somebody would try to prosecute or do something about it, they'd get killed. So now you've got enough public awareness, and you've built up this incredible momentum and you can take their words and use them against them over again. Because their whole thing is just played out. I mean, Chuck Schumer had the nerve, the audacity to say this about Trump. He said, have you ever seen anyone be more disrespectful to our service members? Talking about, because President Trump pointed out Vindman and his crimes, which are well documented.
Yeah.
And Schumer, are you kidding? Are you serious right now?
And these guys are going to be they're going to go down for treason, all of them, right? And the punishment is basically what, a firing squad, hanging, lynching, you know. So if they go to jail, that's one thing, right? But which one of them's actually gets executed? I mean, this is really what it's the true punishment for that is that. So, and if it goes and it takes down the whole White House, the Obama White House, isn't that like the appropriate message? Listen. You literally tried to unseat the president of the United States, right? And
Yeah.
you're the head of the previous administration, and all the people in it that conspired. That's treason. They were taking down the country. They had sold off all the pieces, and they were dividing up the spoils, the harvesting, and they were caught. They're caught, and this is what we're going to see.
And that whole group that was so mad that the Democrats, even all those women united in white, right? That even when Trump said that 72% of the new jobs created in 2019 were women, right? Women's positions. They couldn't even cheer for that.
Right.
I mean, how could you possibly support that? It's just a trend. It's going to be really. I'm excited for this year. I mean, Kim said this is going to be an amazing year.
Yeah.
Because I think this is the year of redemption, right? And not currency redemption, but like where the people are vindicated, people are, revitalized, and actually, there's the cries of the people have been heard, right? And the actual evidence that is obvious to anyone with half a brain who can see this very clear, it's in black and white everywhere. And finally we can actually see that mean something. And I think that is the thing that has just crushed people's hearts, is that they would have all this evidence. I mean, I've talked to 100 people at least. I mean, more, I'm sure, but at least 100 people who have told me about their case, shown me evidence, and told me how they got booted out of court by some, corrupt judge, or some, the sheriffs or the police ganging up on them, or the CIA or the FBI. All these groups that we think should protect us, and they have not done it, right? Not even close, right? Matter of fact, they weren't even formed for that reason. They were set up, they were established to control us, not to serve us, right? But the illusion that we all bought into was, they're here to protect us. They're here to advocate for us. That's bullshit,
Yeah.
No one should be allowed to do that ever again. And
yeah, I was looking. Someone had put together, Trump, the State of the Union with Nancy Pelosi, the tearing up. So they basically took all of the segments of all the positive things. They showed the positive thing, and then Nancy Pelosi tearing up the speech. And then the next positive thing, and then Nancy tearing up the speech. And and I wonder, I haven't seen it yet, but I heard him talking about it, so I was just looking for it now.
I have it. Hang on.
Okay. Well, good.
Oh, wait. You know what? No. You pull it up because there's no volume on mine.
No. If you can send it to me, I'm looking for it. I haven't found it yet.
Okay. Yeah.
I just found it. So it's okay. We're good. So just hang on a second. We'll get this going. Let me share it with you first.
Cool.
All right, and let me share it with everyone else.
Fighter pilots, and he also happens to be Ian's great-grandfather. tonight we have a very special surprise. I am thrilled to inform you that your husband is back from deployment. He is here with us tonight, and we couldn't keep him waiting any longer.
Oh, look her face, you know, she's so much content.
I can proudly announce tonight that an opportunity scholarship has become available. It's going to you, and you will soon be heading to the school of your choice. I will be with you again, he wrote to Gage. I will teach you to ride your first bike, build your first sandbox, watch you play sports, and see you have kids also. I love you, son. Take care of your mother. I am always with you, Daddy. On Easter Sunday of 2008, Chris was out on patrol in Baghdad when his Bradley fighting vehicle was hit by a roadside bomb. That night he made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. To Kelly and Gage, Chris will live in our hearts forever. He is looking down on you now. Thank you. In 2017, doctors at St. Luke's Hospital in Kansas City delivered one of the earliest premature babies ever to survive. Today, Ellie is a strong, healthy 2-year-old girl sitting with her amazing mother, Robin. In the gallery, Ellie and Robin, we are glad to have you with us tonight. I am proud to announce tonight that you will be receiving our country's highest civilian honor, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. The unemployment rate for African Americans, Hispanic Americans, and Asian Americans has reached the lowest levels in history. African American youth unemployment has reached an all-time low. African American poverty has declined to the lowest rate ever recorded. The unemployment rate for women reached the lowest level in almost 70 years, and last year women filled 72% of all new jobs added. The veterans' unemployment rate dropped to a record low. The unemployment rate for disabled Americans has reached an all-time low. Our agenda is relentlessly pro-worker, pro-family, pro-growth, and most of all, pro-American. The state of our union is stronger than ever before.
Amazing.
You know, now, first of all, for anybody, I mean, after all the horrible things they run about the president, right? For anybody to try to have the nerve to say, hey, we want to tell you you can't run that, right? Because it's not fair, they said Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, right? It is the most fair description of what she did. She says it's filled with lies. Well, where are the lies? That was his whole speech. You know, it's all these good things and relentless.
I think you had to point out why it was such an egregious act on Nancy Pelosi's part. She didn't just rip up like one thing. It's like she took the whole speech and said it's garbage. So the question has to come up: what exactly are you doing if you're against those things he said? Because she tried to say it wasn't. It was still lies. No, it wasn't. Those are real stats that you can check.
Yeah.
Right?
What was the lie? That was the thing. There was nothing there that he didn't have stats for. Right. Everything that he said, and other than that, it's a positive messages.
Right. I mean, how do you? Like, he didn't just make those numbers up. Like he would not have said those things. He was even very careful the way he said it. Right. He said the highest numbers ever recorded. Now there might be higher numbers, but the highest numbers recorded. Yeah. These are the highest numbers ever recorded. Since we've been tracking them, right? Things like that.
Well, I've got something else to share to kind of like a little bit of a transition here. So let me go ahead and share the screen with you again. It's this one, but
Charles is one of the
okay. Oop, not that one. This one. Let me make sure that everyone can see this. So this is from May 23rd, 2019, Liberty Maniacs. Mayor Pete Buttigieg's dad devoted his life to Italian theorists who plotted the communist conquest of the West. So,
wow.
Who are they promoting? They stole the Iowa caucuses away from Bernie. The numbers that were first coming in, if you could pick up on the Twitter feeds from the different groups, showed that Bernie was actually topping 35% in some locations, right? And Buttigieg was third. They took away from Bernie and gave it to the other candidates that had no following. Right? That's what they did. They redistributed Bernie's votes to the others, that they wanted to, like Steyer and the other that had nothing, no real chance there, and distributed like 1,000 votes from here and 1,000 votes for there, and that's why Buttigieg got a lift. But why are they promoting him? Right? First of all, he's openly gay. The previous president was in the closet. Right? Obama.
Right.
So what are they trying to do? They're trying to tear down all the standards of America, right? And promote, something that is completely destructive. The ultimate end of everyone being gay is there is no more any population. The humanity dies off. If you don't procreate,
that is the reality. Yeah.
So they're promoting death to the whole to all of the whole human race. Right. Nothing against someone who wants to choose that as their lifestyle and do that. Great. But the promotion of it at this level is that there's a purpose. There is an intent behind this. They also have this communism battle that's going. That's why I said that I first realized that Trump's has a true force against communism. Since the thing that happened in Venezuela, right? And that he started to go after communism was at that point. That's when it dawned on me. This is really a good versus evil. This is, capitalism versus communism. This is good versus evil at that true level. And they're pushing Buttigieg as being the candidate. They want him, right? They know nothing about him. He came from nowhere. He's the mayor of a small town that he did nothing to basically change. Just like Obama, a community organizer suddenly is a senator. Right? Goes from nothing to becoming the senator.
Right.
All right. So they're doing it again. But it's this complete contrast of against everything that is America stood for. So Buttigieg is basically running, as this without taking positions really that to say what he's actually going to do. But it's the same thing Obama did. Same cookie cutter.
Yeah, and they know that's a losing recipe. I think that's why. I mean, they must be desperate if they're trying to wheel Hillary Clinton out to do something.
Right.
Right. Because if you look at the actual emails from Huma Aberdeen and Hillary Clinton that were discovered, and were actually revealed, and we have this email, in case anyone hasn't seen it. Like, I've seen it with my own eyes. Huma Aberdeen is saying that Hillary Clinton was having 13 seizures a day. Right?
Yeah.
Described her as a monster.
Right, and then she can't stand, right? And the people around her are fearful whenever she's going to blow up.
Right, and they're like, they drug her up just to put her out on stage and march her out there, because they don't really care about. I mean, Hillary Clinton by herself wasn't really a force, right? It's that she was this legacy that was designed, right? Like geoengineered through cloning and whatever else. Who knows? To be this figure, put her out there. I mean, and there's so much evidence to show all these different appearances of Hillary Clinton where it's not her. It's obviously not her, right? And basically putting her out there to push forward a genocidal agenda, and the communism is just economic and political slavery.
Right.
All of us will get just this, and that's all we'll get.
Right.
And there's no option to get out of it.
It's fair because everyone has the same.
Right.
Except for the people, of course, that are ruling.
Right.
They get everything.
Right. And I mean, we know. I mean, look, the Queen. Like, I had this on tape where Dr. Rima, actually was speaking with the Queen. And the Queen said, "Well, it's about the time for the Great Culling," right? Saying how 90% of the population will be killed off, and the remainder will be our servants. The useless eaters. Like, all that's based in, real evidence of real things that have been said by this, this so-called elite group, right? They think their bloodline and thousands of years of incest somehow makes them superior.
Right.
That's the
right.
That's the tragedy.
Right. Well, I mean, it is the evolution of the world political system, right? For where there was tribal chiefs that became regional kings, right? That basically ended up owning everything around the world. Every country around the world had that same monarchy type system, right? You had the first aspects of the idea of democracy and the republics happening in Greece, right? And then they had their and Rome, and so that kind of from Rome kind of took hold in a way, but they made a new plan, right? And that plan was dealing with the Catholic Church, right? To basically handle the God side. Hey, let's just focus on one God, right? So that we get everyone under one God. right? And then if you had the opposition, divide and conquer, you keep that going on. So you got the Muslims, right, in the mix, right? So it's the same God, but only one way is right way, right? So you can always have the war, right? I'm not saying that there aren't other religions, but in the general scheme of things. And then you had, the idea of the true battle, which is no God versus God, and the communism versus an atheist versus, a monolithic God. So it's always about pitting one side against the other, and that's what the true battle is always. Right. So we have to realize where we can come together and be prosperous together.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's not even hard when you really think about it. It's like, it's do you want options in your life? Do you want change? Do you want the opportunity to excel, and be successful without, a very, very minute, less than 1% of 1% of 1% of the population being able to dictate what your potential is, what you're able to do, right? Now, of course, nobody wants that, right? And these people that think they're fighting for something because they're in the elite, they're one. They sold out all of humanity so they can be part of that group, right? And they've done horrible things that, who knows if those things will ever come out. But they've done horrible things, and they sold all of us out in the process. Now, that conversation has got to come mainstream. I mean, that has got to be something that we all know has happened, because it makes the fabric of our entire accurate history. And people have to be aware of that. That has to be taught as normal. This is what they did. This is why our society has to become something different. That comes from the ground up. Education actually being something that matters, right? Not programming, right? It's education that actually educates and empowers people.
Well, a little side note. I'm scrolling through this article as we're talking right here, and we're talking about education. Mayor Pete is trained counterterrorism naval intelligence officer, right? Harvard grad. Who else was in Harvard? Any other presidents, maybe? You hear Skull and Bones, maybe?
Yeah, Bushes.
Yeah, exactly. Rhodes Scholar, right? Pipeline for the British American intelligence community, right? And then, let's see, alumnus of the prestigious corporate government consultancy in the world, McKinsey and Company, a former Secretary of Defense, William Cohen's strategic consultancy firm, the Cohen Group, and he's only in his 30s. So does this not sound like another CIA grad?
Yeah, of course. I mean,
is this another Obama? That's what this is all about. Is basically they're positioning him, and they needed to get Bernie out of the way, so they're focusing on him being the one, right?
Yep. Mike Pompeo, I think he was being recognized by some group the other day, and he was saying how I think he went to China, and there was he was at some meeting. It was like some group of governors, right?
Right, that's right. It was the governors' conference, yeah. So, yeah,
okay.
I heard that speech.
And then in the governors' conference, and he said how this one group came in, and I forget what the title of the name of the group was, right? But he basically said that it was a communist. They represented the Communist Party of China, right? And how most people wouldn't even know, right? And he was how easily could it have been that he was there and just suddenly made friends there, right?
Right.
And now there's like new ideas and new connections he has. And he said, but luckily, based on his experience in the CIA, that he knew what was going on.
Right.
Now I've never heard a political figure talk about those things so candidly.
Right.
And I think it really speaks well of Mike Pompeo, guys.
Yeah.
Because he's doing exactly what I'm trying to do, which is expose the psyops.
Well,
right?
Well, he said all of them, all 50 governors, are on a list. And the list is, it basically says, are you approving, are you positive towards them, to the Chinese Communist Party? Or are you ambivalent, or are you a hardliner against them? So, what in QAnon has come out is that this list that he's talking about is really like who's accepted money. So the ones that are positive accepted money from them.
Wow.
So it's also telling them, putting these governors on notice, we have you on a list. We know which one of you has accepted the money.
Wow. That's huge. And I didn't realize that.
Right, I know. What I didn't pick up on. I mean, I thought that I recognized that. Wow, they got a list, and they're, hey, you're either the hardliner, you're ambivalent, or you've taken the money. He doesn't say taken the money, but that's what it's all about, right? Who's friends? The friends list means they're investing in your. He said it in a way like where they're going to put their money to invest, because they come up and they say, hey, we're looking for places to put our money to invest in your pension funds.
So this is where, the president, has got pocket aces, right? Because he's got Kim backing him up. Yeah. And she can pull an audit. She can do her own audit on anything in minutes, right? I remember there was a problem in the Treasury back in, over the summer. And it would have taken them months to fix it. Kim fixed it in 2 days, right? And that's how powerful the system is that she runs. She was basically like, look, just give me, and actually I think a day and a half of that was her telling them, just give me access to the system. They finally gave her access after a day and a half. In half a day, a few hours, she fixed the whole thing. That's the difference in what you're dealing with. What would have taken them months to sort out, in half a day she figured out. So imagine what she says is what I think they have to be realizing at this point is all their ways of hiding money and trusts and things like that, plausible deniability or whatever, all that's out the window. So all the cards are on the table now. It's anything we want to take you down for, we have an actual record of, right? We can just say, oh, we're going to run an audit on governors. Right? And in the past, they would have thought they were protected, it would reveal nothing. Now it's no, it doesn't mean that now. Now everything will be on the table, and every piece of that intelligence will be made available to every intelligence agency in the world. And it's still operating the right way. I don't know exactly how that's all shaken out, but basically there's no place to hide.
Yep.
So QAnon. I think it's spot on. The plan's coming together.
Yeah, and this is now when they're on the run. This is the offense is really starting at this point. So this is, it's been all defense, up through the impeachment, and now it's all turning to the offense, and everything that they're doing. One of the things that Lindsey Graham said is no matter what they throw at the president, he's defeated them. Right?
Yeah.
Every single time.
Yep.
So it's like they're 0 for 10.
Right. I mean,
if you add everything up, it's remarkable.
Yeah. So at this point, it's what else? And everything that was so stable and so secure, or seemingly so, has been disrupted over the past 3 years. Everything.
Right. Yep.
So.
And we can see that everything is, the stage is set, the table is set for everything to change, and then we're going to just watch it. That's good. We're
now that being said, I really, I've analyzed this a lot, and I've felt this way. for a long time, but I feel like it's proving out to be true. The next step has got to be, if you want to really shift the collective consciousness, it has to be money reaching the people, right? Because we can hear about, everything's great and everything's good. Well, yes and no, right? The stock market is a complete illusion, right? There's, how these numbers are recorded and people working and doing things. Well, real change comes from when you have ownership. When people have ownership of businesses and entrepreneurs and projects and things are changing on that level. I mean, they're still talking about infrastructure. In 2019, Trump or I think it was 2019 or 2000, maybe towards the end of it was like a year later that he announced that they were going to remove the debris from Hurricane Michael. Now, Hurricane Michael made 1.2 million people homeless, and a year later they were just removing the debris. That's the very first thing you do, right? You can't get trucks in to do construction if there's debris everywhere, right? So you got to think, as positive as the changes are that are being spoken about, they're a fraction of the reality. That's why Trump's always saying the best is yet to come. Because those of us in the know, right, who are really fighting this, we know that the real substance of money and wealth and change, lies in our ability to freely, safely move funds, right? To be able to move money without being discriminated against, without being told by the bank that, we're not worthy of having that kind of money. I remember being harassed by this global security group, and I had all the paperwork, all the evidence, Homeland Security clearance, letters of authority. The bank was indemnified, and the global security thug calling me up and mocking me on the phone, being like, "You really think they're going to let you have this money? This is a scam." Didn't do any research on it. Didn't do anything. Right? Just thought he was going to intimidate me into believing it was all a scam and try to make me feel stupid. Right? Like, that was their method. I mean, they didn't even have a real plan. The whole plan was just, we're just going to ignore you.
Right. Well, they don't know what else to do. People come up with facts and everything else. It's like, just ignore them. We've got,
Yeah. Ignore them, because eventually they'll keep pursuing this for so long. While we're collecting a paycheck, they'll be collecting nothing and they'll give up.
Right.
That's the plan.
Yep.
So that's looks like we wore them out.
Yeah, well, they don't have any more money, so they can't collect the paycheck. So that changes it. He who has the gold makes the rules, right?
Yeah, something like that.
So that's where it bears out.
So I'm wrong about this all the time. I've always been wrong when I think it's going to come in, but yet again, my hope is not deferred.
Well,
I am full of hope, and I am fully confident that it's time to have our desires realized and allow the tree of life to blossom and to grow and to flourish for everybody.
Yeah. Well, Tank, you're just like a broken clock.
I'm right twice a day.
Yeah. So you can keep going. One of these times it'll be one of those 2 times you're right.
That's right. One of these times it'll be right. So, but based on the evidence and the sway of things, it certainly does seem that way. So, I'm praying that it's true. And being that God sent me a message this week through one of my people. He's heard everything, heard every prayer, and did tell me it's coming through. So I am just foolish enough to believe such things. So,
well, ask her if my prayers are going to come through too.
I'm sure that. Listen, my hunch because I realize this is something I've known or felt in my heart for a long time. And it's part of the reason why I'm in this fight. is when I started to realize that I was enslaved. I realized even if I get free, if everybody else is enslaved, am I really free? Like, could I be free knowing everybody else is enslaved? And the way I felt about it all along was no, it's not real freedom,
Right.
right?
I'll take the black
So-
card. Thank you. I got through the finish line. I worked the system. I figured it out, and now I got my black card. I'm on vacation.
Because somebody always owns you, right? You know, and you're always keeping the secret that you're free and everybody else is enslaved. So I've always felt, no, we're like the high tide. All the boats rise together.
Yeah.
That's what has to happen. All of us have to be free. Everyone has to be, has to have the opportunity to be empowered to whatever level it is that they want to achieve. You know, and some people will just want to be employees, and some people want to own projects and businesses and all types of things. But I think everyone's quality of life should improve, and that's right here for the taking right now. First time in history that we'll have this chance, and last probably. So, stay man.
Yeah. Well, we're here. Let's go. So, are we good then for today then?
Yes, sir. Appreciate you as always. Everybody out there, have a great night, and we'll talk tomorrow.
All right. We'll talk to. Actually, hang on for a moment. Let me run something by you. Let me just end this over here.